All right, I see the recordings up now.
Yeah.
I think we can begin. All right, so we have two topics on the agenda. One was just to discuss fall sports, and the other is to discuss candidates and vote on our candidate. So today we have Michelle LaMattina with us, Ron Rock, Kevin Callahan, June O'Leary, and Lisa Green, and myself. Let's do the fall sports because I think that'll be somewhat quick at the moment. Today I got word that football was possibly not going to be having a season, but they're having a meeting themselves tonight to discuss that, so I don't want to speak for them. So moving towards the fall, I think in our best interest and possibly keeping money coming in based on state guidelines is right now what we have permitted to use the fields, which is baseball and lacrosse. If they're continuing and still following within the state guidelines, we should probably still allow that to happen unless anything else should change. I do want to put out there that I have sent the information out to, I always say her name wrong and Michelle will be able to help me, Helen Iannone.
Iannone, good job.
Thank you. For soccer, I have not received anything back from soccer as far as the field usage agreement or anything at all. So soccer would be one of those things. It's predominantly, Kevin, you can speak to it, strong in the fall. But with limitations of going from 100 down to 50, that's 2 teams on a field plus some coaches plus referees. You know, I don't know what the numbers would be looking at soccer either. And I think that might be the same issues football's having. So as of right now, I believe that what we have permitted for using the fields still fall within the guidelines. On a baseball standpoint, it's typically 12 to 15 kids per team. That looks at 30. A couple of coaches each team. That's another 4, so you're at 34. And then 1 to 2 umpires makes 35, 36. So you're still under that number of 50. Michelle, on lacrosse, how many typically would we see on a field for lacrosse?
Well, it depends what age group. Some of them do 7-on-7, but the teams, I don't really know with town anymore how many kids do town. Mm-hmm. Like, the girls program when I was involved, we probably had between the 4 teams, we probably had about 60, 70 kids, but I don't know that that's the same. Is lacrosse just practicing or are they playing games?
Well, right now they're just using it for practices, and they actually haven't used it at all yet.
So I would just be pretty specific with them that, because I can say Claire's Club Lacrosse, we've been going, they've pushed the limit to the 100 kids. So 100 kids show up, they're divided into 10 groups of 10. But then because tomorrow's rolling back, tomorrow when Claire goes to lacrosse, they had to break the times down even smaller because they're only allowing 50 kids on the field now. So now there's only 5 groups going for the hour. So I would just be clear with lacrosse. If you're practicing, there's no more than 50 people on the field at a time.
Okay. Yeah, and that 50 again includes the coaches.
Yeah.
Okay. Ron or Kevin, on the soccer front, if they should get back to us, how many typically are on the field for soccer?
That again is on the age. It can have up to 11 each team on the higher divisions. So is
Plus the subs.
plus the subs. So I would say God.
18 or so, right, usually?
18, yeah, 18 each team, yeah.
And then a
But
couple.
that's on the high end of it,
The last couple of years that I've done
Yeah.
has been 16 on my team.
16.
16.
Yeah, for the older kids.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, if soccer should get their stuff back to us and they wanted to use the fields, I mean, it sounds like they would still be under that 50, 16, 18, whatever is, 36 or 34 or 36, plus a couple of coaches and a referee. So I think that still falls in the ballpark. But again, I have nothing signed from them that's come back.
Yeah, they're already looking at the concession stand with baseball. They're already talking to them about that. So I don't know why I didn't get anything back from Helen yet.
Right, and they put something out on Facebook today about all their COVID response and all that also, and signing up, so they must be
Yeah,
moving.
and they're low. Yeah, and they're low numbers, and they're trying to merge with Hanson, so it's going to be Whitman Hanson going forward soon. So
Okay.
they don't have the numbers though. They really don't.
Maybe that's what they're waiting for, to see if they're even going to have a season, as far as numbers wise.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
just to move forward on it, so I would say, I mean, as long as soccer gets their paperwork in, we should probably all be in agreement that they would be okay, as long, again, as they follow the 50 or under rule.
Yeah,
And the ones that are already permitted, WBSA or any of these other club teams, lacrosse as well, again, as long as they fall within the 50, we should be okay.
sounds good.
Okay. So that's all I wanted to touch on with fall, was just make sure we were all still on board. And we know things are changing. I mean, we may have to kill somebody's season in the middle of the season if things change again.
Right.
It is what it is. But I guess now we should probably move right over to the discussion of our candidates.
Excuse me, Joe.
Yep.
One last question. What are we doing with the parents that are watching the kids play? Are there any rules or restrictions?
The parents are, I mean, and it all depends on where they are, right?
That's what I'm wondering, where we're going to make them be.
So the majority of them at Lower Town Park, right, which is the all dirt field, most of them are up on the bowl, the upper part of the bowl. And they're socially distancing by families, is what I saw when I went by. It's kind of tough to monitor the parents. And maybe, Lisa, I do have a question for you, is I'm going to use Memorial Field for an example. If we're talking outside of the fence at Memorial Field, that becomes public, non-permitted property. So would a coach have a right to ask the parent to move outside that fence?
Why not?
I mean, I don't know if they would have a right to ask them to move outside the fence.
Because
I mean, Memorial Field, if you're looking at the baseball field, are you talking about the baseball field side or like the soccer or football side?
I guess for now, because we don't really have soccer or football yet, we talk about the baseball side. So, you have the fence and then the sidewalks right outside of it.
Right.
I mean, I know typically, you remember too, when Jason used to play, a lot of parents sit on that left field side because it's not being used, and they usually do distance themselves.
Right. So, I mean, what the coaches can just make sure that the parents are social distancing. And they can probably suggest, you know, if you feel more comfortable, the area right outside the fence is available. However, a lot of people park right there too. So there really isn't any place to, I mean, unless you want to lean against a car, you know, there's no place really to sit and watch the game from outside the fence. So I see that as a problem because I know that a lot of people park right outside that fence. And unless you want to prohibit parking right outside the fence, which I don't know how you could, that could be a problem area.
Well,
Right, so,
excuse me, I wouldn't want to limit the parking because that's sort of a buffer.
well, we
But
can't
there-
do that anyway, I don't think.
Right.
No,
However, I
but
mean,
there-
there's that parking lot right next to the police station that probably can accommodate all of the cars. You know, it could be just a suggestion that the coaches send out an email and say, here's some suggestions, you know, for social distancing purposes. Parents can certainly sit outside the fence. And then also, some people may not feel safe sitting right there with the cars zinging by like each direction. They can put suggestions to, you know, park at the parking lot by the police station. There's plenty of parking there. You know, make sure that if you do sit by the fence, you know, sit as close as possible so that you're not putting yourself in danger. But now when we think of that, that might be not a safe place for people to sit, where they're kind of wide open to busy Essex Street with cars zooming back and forth. So actually, now that I'm rethinking that, I don't know if any coach would want to suggest people sit outside the fence.
Okay.
Because that could bring up some liability if somebody got hurt.
So the other thing, Joe, is I think instead of like Mickey Mousing it saying, well, you should sit here and you shouldn't sit there and this, that, and the other thing, like a blanket policy of, you know, obviously we're at a 50 mark. If you want the kids to continue to play, there are no parents allowed in the complex. And if you are outside of your vehicle watching, you need to have a mask on. That's how they do it for Claire's Lacrosse. Nobody's allowed on the complex. You can't even stand outside the fence. You can't stand near the team benches. Blanket, no one's allowed by the complex. If you choose to watch from your vehicle or outside, if you're outside your vehicle, you must have a mask on.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is if all the, especially, I mean, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse and we can talk about this all night, but for soccer, for instance, you have these little kids that are real little, Ron and Kevin can attest to this, 5, 6, 7 years old. The parents probably don't want to just drop them off. But if you have 40 of those kids showing up with their coaches and now you have 40 parents because they got to see their kid on the field, you're going to get fined, you're going to get shut down or whatever. So I think soccer and that, we just got to table it and deal with it. When they come back to us to say whether they're doing it. What?
Another suggestion too is, you know, based on the size of that field, if any coaches prior to any games want to go out and just kind of measure areas, you know, and then I don't know if they want to stick tape there or whatever and say, okay, one family can stay in this spot and then measure 6 feet away and then put a little box. Another family can stand in this spot, but also make sure they're back far enough so that they're not interfering with anything, because that's a pretty big complex.
Yeah.
You know, and if you only have one sport going on, I think there's enough room that families can safely distance, but they must wear masks. But, you know, just somebody would have to go out and kind of mark areas where it would be 6 feet apart that would allow them to social distance. I mean, I know it's a lot of work, but it's just some thoughts that I'm bouncing off.
I do think, you know, and like I had said the last meeting, I'm dealing with this on more ends than one. I do think it's probably the responsibility of the organization or the coach, much to what Michelle was saying, and also to you, Lisa, to, you know, put out there to the parents and the families that social distancing needs to be maintained with 6 foot distance, masks are mandatory. You know, And if a parent is going to show up and they're going to be hard about it, like, I don't want to wear a mask, I mean, the organization has to do something as far as, like, just call the police.
Yep. And say, oh,
Because
it's fine.
it is the
You can
law
go
at
sit in
this
your
point.
car.
Right.
When I was driving by, I think it was August 2nd. It was a 1:00 game, and I just happened to stop by there, and there was nobody wearing a mask.
I
at
went
all. Okay.
down there, Kevin, after I got your text, and I talked to them.
Okay.
Um,
So
they did all have the gator masks around their necks. So because the baseball standpoint is masks are required when you come off the playing field. So when you come to the bench, the mask has to go up. If a coach goes out onto the field to talk to a pitcher, the mask has to go up between the pitcher and the coach and the catcher as well.
I was talking about parents. Yeah, okay. That's the rule with that. The parents don't have to wear one.
No, the parents should be wearing one at all times. But
Yeah,
the problem that you're having with this, right, is people are looking at the 6 foot distancing. So they think that because I'm 6 feet away, I don't need to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I've been around
Gotcha, yeah,
a bunch of
that's
towns, and that's the way it's being done. And I've been asking why. You know, I've been to Hingham, I've been to Hanover, I've been to a bunch of towns, and it's exactly the way this is being done. Is parents believe that because I'm 6 foot away from the other family, I don't need to wear a mask. So my question to them was, can you tell me which way the wind's blowing?
Yeah.
So when I sneeze, when I sneeze, can you guarantee me it's not going to reach you within 6 feet?
You know, I think we can say all we want to, but I think it breaks down to about 3 or 4 rules. The one about the 50 on the field, the one about the masks, and no parents on the field. I mean, the rest you're going to have to deal with separately at every game, because some parent's going to come with her 3 other kids to watch the 4th kid play. So you don't know what you're going to deal with from week to week. But if we make 3 or 4 steadfast rules, the rest we can deal with.
Right. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll get out to any of these coaches or any of these organizations that are potentially playing in the fall about getting out to their families, their players, about continuing the social distancing. The masks are mandatory, especially for parents, because they're the ones that are sitting there if they can socially distance. I'm just marking that off, and we'll try to move forward with that.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Thank you. I just knew we were going to come up against it.
No problem. Anybody else? All right, so
Nope,
let's go right into the discussion of candidates. So we had 3 candidates that we've interviewed. Cheryl Topper was our last one that we did through the Zoom interview. Brian Schwade and Kathleen Woodward were the 2 that we actually did the in-person interview with. You know, if we want to open these up to some discussion on pros, cons of each candidate, and then we can probably go right into the vote after that. Ron, let's start with you, only because you're at the top of my screen. Ron, you're on mute. Ron, you're still on mute. Okay.
Wake up, Ron.
Sorry, I'm on my phone. I was trying to find the mute button.
That's all right.
Let's see. Well, I'm still with Brian and Catherine. I mean, those are the ones I see that have the experience.
Mm-hmm. Kevin?
And I mean,
Oh.
Brian and Catherine have good like point of views.
Okay.
I was
Kevin?
trying to find my notes for them. I can't find them.
Kevin,
I'm with
you-
those.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. Did you say something?
yeah, I was asking you if you if you had anything on
Oh,
the three candidates.
Yeah, I liked what Cheryl had to say, but Brian and Kathy I don't know, they better answers and more acclimated what's going on, and I liked that Kathy had a degree in the that area, and I'd like to go forward with both of those candidates.
Okay. June?
I feel this pretty much the same way. I think that Brian and Kathleen have a stronger feeling about those two.
Okay. Michelle?
So one thing I did like with Cheryl was that she seemed to have a lot of knowledge in, oh my gosh, I just lost the word. Lisa, help me. Getting money. What is that called? How did I lose that word?
Fundraising.
No, not
Fundraising.
Oh, yes,
No,
yes,
but
fundraising.
the other thing too, grant money.
Grant writing.
We talked a lot about grant. Sorry, I've had a long
Right,
day.
right.
Get losing words. So I like that part of it, but I felt that definitely Brian and Kathleen were a lot more experienced in other areas that she wasn't. So Brian and Kathleen would definitely be my two to move forward. Brian, again, the only reason why I would say I'm stronger for him is because I feel like more and more we've talked over the last few months with this field scheduling and field usage and, trying to get some income in. And even when John Graham was talking about, maintaining fields and things like that, I just feel like Brian is a lot stronger in that area than Kathleen is. But then I feel like Kathleen probably has a stronger area with the pool and the park program. But now and I'm not saying based on COVID, but I'm just saying now with the way things are kind of unraveling, I think we really need to focus in on the field usage, the scheduling, what we can have, what we can't have, trying to generate some money where we've lost all this money in the last 4 or 5 months with no pool and park program. And then maybe, see what unravels after that. And I just feel like Brian knows a lot about the fields and what they need and how to maintain them just because of that experience he has. So that's it.
All right. And I guess myself. I agree with everybody. I thought Brian and Kathleen had the more polished interview. Obviously, they had the in-person, so maybe that had something to do with it. Cheryl was, through the Zoom interview. But I don't know, me personally, I think the Zoom's easier than sitting in front of the firing squad, too.
Yeah.
You can hide better.
Yeah.
I do agree with Michelle as far as Cheryl's knowledge in the grant money. Brian's knowledge in the field scheduling and field usage. I agree with those points on everybody. I know that, as a board, whether it's Cheryl or Kathleen or Brian, a lot of us also have our own strong points. Not that we want to be doing this every day. I have been. I can tell you that for sure. But there's things we can help each other on, right? Like if we're basically down to Brian and Kathleen, but we know Cheryl was good with the grants, well, can we, whoever the candidate is, could possibly lean on June. June's done a lot with grants in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever the candidate is, if they don't have The field scheduling and stuff, they can lean on myself. Kevin's done it for soccer, so I think us as a board need to step up a little bit more. I think we got kind of happy with the fact that, Ollie knew how to do all of this and he didn't have to lean on us as much. But that puts us down to, we're here for a meeting once a month and that's it. And I don't know that that's really the right thing for a board. I think we should all have a little bit more influence and input to helping whoever this new director should be.
Joe, may I speak?
Sure.
Just on your thoughts about the candidates counting on or using you folks as a tool, so to speak. Something to think of, the candidates also should have knowledge of the resources available to them before, because you folks are a volunteer board, so they should already have some knowledge of resources that are out there before they would need to lean on you folks for guidance and advice and feedback.
Right.
So somebody that's a little bit more resourceful, if they don't know how to do it, they know where to go to get the resources or who to reach out to obtain that knowledge. So one thing that has how I've gotten through a lot of things. I don't try not to lean on people. I try to use the resources that are out there available. So which candidate is going to have more knowledge of resources?
Good point. Very good point.
Thank you.
No problem.
But I feel the board is a resource. And
Yeah,
everybody,
I think,
Oh,
I think-
absolutely. I didn't mean to disrespect that you're not a resource.
No,
But I don't think you should be, I don't think you should be both crutches.
No.
One crutch. I wouldn't want the candidate to think that you're, both crutches and that they could reach out to you at any time that they need any little question answered.
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
That was just my thought.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we are a great resource. And one thing I just want to say real quick is, Joe, thank you a whole heck of a lot for stepping up over these last 4 or 5 months, because you're really taking on the main burden of all this. Not a burden, but it's not your job. You're not getting paid to do this. You're definitely part of a committee. You're a strong part of this committee. And you've basically stepped in and done the scheduling and reached out to those people and that kind of thing. So I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
We all
because
do,
we wouldn't be getting any bit of income or any bit of fields going if you hadn't, stepped in and helped out with the baseball and lacrosse and, moving forward, like reaching out to Wayne Carroll and people like that. So, and again, with that being said, I'll say one more bit is I do think, Kathleen definitely knows a lot of people in Whitman too. She teaches here, but she lives in Hanson. I feel like Brian lives here, has been a resident here for many years, knows everybody on the DPW, knows the people on some of the boards, as Kathleen does too. But I think we need to figure out what also would be a smooth transition to get this over to the director position with someone, who might be more knowledgeable and who's the best in what areas we think, I don't know.
No.
Somebody refresh my mind as to what Brian is doing right now. Is he still working for this?
Yes, so he's a manager at Shaw's in Hanover now. So Kathleen, I believe, but I don't know this, Kevin might know. Kathleen is at para, right, at Duval, but I don't know if she is going back there or what. I mean, schools, I don't know if she was one who got pink slipped or didn't or what, I don't know. So
I think the only one
Yeah.
thing, the only one question I had with Brian is how convenient it's going to be for him to run back and forth, like when we have the pool open, stuff like that.
yeah, well, I think it's the same for all of them, whether they are away or home or, I think they both seemed pretty flexible on their time. basically, because Brian makes his own hours and Kathleen, I think, is off for the summer pretty much, if that hasn't changed, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, one of my thing, a couple of things that, you know, I've been bouncing back and forth myself is, you know, Kathleen lives in Hanson, as we know, but we have had directors in the past that have lived out of town.
successfully.
And Kevin, does Kathleen have children that participate in the program, or they're on part of the park program? They work the park program?
Yeah, they work the park program, and they don't participate in it. They're in college now.
Okay, but they've been employees to the park program in the past?
Yeah, I think the pool side.
Okay.
No, I think one
Tina.
of them works the actual, wasn't she, one of them was
She was
a counselor?
Tina was. I thought she was. I think she was a lifeguard, and I think her sister did the same thing. I don't think she was a counselor.
Yeah, I think
I'm
both
pretty
of them
sure
were
she was.
lifeguards last season.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think they were.
Yeah, I don't think they could go to the park program because they don't live in Whitman, right? But,
Right.
yeah,
Probably right. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, and then the other thing is, although we knew she didn't fully use that degree, I did like the fact that Kathleen had the degree in recreation. You know, to go to school specifically for that, you know, I felt that alone was a big point to me. Now,
Yeah.
you know, anyone that goes to school specifically for something, I mean, me personally, I got into recreation because I've dealt with sports, right? So
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about a pool program. I'm learning a lot about a park program on the fly with this, but I got into it because of sports, and, you know, I'm grateful to have learned more coming through. I mean, if I went to school for recreation and that was my specific, you know, I would be applying for jobs that would be paying me for this. That was one of the higher things. I mean, now Brian has obviously run town organizations within Whitman. I thought he had a fantastic interview, you know, a very polished interview, to be exact. So it's a tough choice. I mean, I know we were down to these two candidates before. I just really felt as though after things kind of got sidewinded, that it was best to just put it back out there to interview the rest, anyone that was still interested, and then we discussed what we would come down to. I think from all of our conversation right now, we're pretty much down to between Brian and Kathleen. Does anyone else want to put anything out there? And Lisa, that's you too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to exclude you the last time.
No worries, no worries. If I could too remind, Brian also has a degree in sports and fitness. So he does have that education as well. I think they both had comparable educations in that area.
I didn't know that. I'm glad you said something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He has a degree in physical education?
Sports and fitness. He does have a bachelor's degree in sports and fitness.
Well, see, now that wasn't brought up before. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there it is. Good sports. Yeah. Well, that kind of adds a little bit to my choice.
Anybody else have anything? Kevin?
No, I like you said, we're down to Brian and Kathleen, and they are very comparable. Very good. It's nice to have two people that we really got to decide to have.
Yeah.
It's going to be good for us. But I really do like you said, the degree with the recreation. She teaches. She's got kids in the park program that came from the pool areas. She does all this stuff in Whitman and Hampton and stuff around both towns, Hampton and Whitman. And Brian with his scheduling, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough decision, but I mean, they're both good. But
Anybody have a
I just-
coin?
I'm just well, yeah.
This is tough.
All right, so Ron, anything else?
Sorry, I keep doing mute because of the dogs. No, this is very tough. Like I said, they both have good qualities on each side. So it's a tough one.
June, do you have anything? June?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think we all agree it's a tough decision, but I think I could make a choice if I had to.
Oh, thank God. Michelle? All right, are we ready to vote?
Motion to move to vote.
Second?
Second?
Okay, well, I just got to go through everybody. Ron?
Yeah, motion. I agree.
Kevin?
I'm sorry. What was that? I couldn't hear you.
Michelle made the motion to vote.
Oh yeah, agree. Yep.
June?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, so here we go. I'm going by my screen. Lisa, are you going to tally this?
Yeah, so someone would have to make a motion to appoint either Kathleen or Brian, and then someone second and go forth in that manner.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to appoint Brian.
I second it.
Okay, so we have two, I'm just writing this down too, sorry.
Yeah, I'm taking minutes too, Joe, just so you
Okay.
know.
All right, so we have a motion to appoint Brian by Michelle, second by June. Kevin?
Nope.
Okay, so would you want to make a motion to appoint somebody
Oh
else?
yeah, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Kathy Woodward.
Okay. Ron?
I second that.
For Kathy or for Brian?
Kathleen.
Okay. All right, so it falls down to me again, just like last time. I would like to. This is tough. I would like to make mine for Kathy Woodward.
Okay, does it? Couldn't make a bad choice.
No, I think they're very strong candidates, both of them.
I won't disagree with the vote for Kathy.
Lisa, how else do we need to proceed with this now?
Okay, so basically, we just want to draft up a letter. Somebody may want to reach out to Kathleen and let her know the board's choice. And then Frank can draft up a letter and we can send a letter out to her with the official offer. And then she will need to come in to the Board of Selectmen's office and complete a query form. We'll have to query and we'll go from there.
And can I ask you this? Let's say she doesn't want the position.
Mhm.
Would we have to revote, or could we give this to Brian?
If she withdraws her name and declines the position, then the board would meet, have another meeting.
Oh,
Vote to rescind the offer to Kathleen and then take another vote to appoint Brian.
Okay.
there's no way we could do that now.
Mm-mm.
They saying if she refuses the position, that the alternate
Right,
candidate get it. Could
right.
we do that now?
That's a good question.
I think it's not a huge deal if we have to do it again at the next meeting or something.
I mean, when I did speak to both Brian and Kathleen, they were both
Yeah, they were
very,
interested, right?
yeah, they were very enthusiastic and still interested in the position.
Okay. All right, so those were our 2 agenda items. Let's go around the table and see if anyone has anything quickly. Michelle?
Only couple quick things I want to bring up with Kathleen is, Lisa, we have to make sure that they do like a conflict of interest, right? Because if her daughter works for the park program.
That, yeah, well, that will come about next season when the park programs are and pool are planned, and if her daughters plan on applying for the positions, she will have to do a disclosure to the board disclosing that her daughters are applying for positions and that she would not have partaken any of the hiring process. So that could be that could be a sticky situation, but she would
Yeah.
have to make a disclosure on that.
Right. Okay.
And if I may too, I'm sure you've probably all heard that our car show this year is not going to happen. The Board of Health they're basically not going to give their blessing on it. And with the new restrictions by the governor, basically no car shows are happening this
Is
year.
this their last year? Was this supposed to be their last year?
No, we can have the car show, year after year, as long as people want to do it and keep
Well, we
coming.
want to.
Yeah,
did a
and people were
great
very
job.
disappointed when I told them, all the car
Oh,
folks were very disappointed, but they understood.
Well, I know my husband and I are disappointed. That was a great job. You did a wonderful job on that.
Thank you. No, it'll be bigger and better next year.
There you go.
All right.
To speak to the car show, in that box of stuff that Ollie found were the radios, extra trophies, tickets, and whatnot. I don't know if that was given to you or if it's in the town hall somewhere.
I think it's in the town hall somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Michelle, you said you had a couple of things. Do you have anything else?
Oh, no, you know what? I think just with like COVID and everything like that, we just probably, and now that we have Kathleen in place, we probably ought to, just while we have a little bit of time and someone new's coming in, maybe if everybody kind of thinks of, 2 or 3 ideas or 2 or 3 items that you think Kathleen needs to know about, or I think just helping her transition into the position, maybe if in the next week or so, if everybody could shoot like Joe or I an email, we can kind of come up with a list, just so we're not missing anything to kind of keep her informed on. I know it's going to be a little different because we won't have boom, 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 all this coming up. But just, to get on the same page, because I'll be honest with you, in the last 2 years, there's still stuff popping up every month that I'm like, hey, I didn't know about that, you know? So I just think as a group, a committee, if we all maybe even up it 3 to 5 things that you know that Kathleen should either be handling or maybe an idea you have, just shoot it in an email to us and I'll compile, or to me, and I'll compile one list and get it to Joe and that. I don't know. I just think it might be a good idea.
I think
You know.
that's a great idea, Michelle.
Do you think we should ask her to our next meeting?
Well, she's going to have to be because she's the director.
Well, that she will be, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Hopefully.
but so maybe if everybody can kind of do that over the next couple days, so we can maybe get that out to her to look at, so she can have some questions for us. I think it's going to be much of a transition. I think Joe will probably take reins with her first with all the scheduling stuff, but you know, just to give her a little, just to give her a little outline of, you know, so she kind of knows what she's looking at and then can come back to us and go, okay, well, someone said something about, you know, the Christmas event. What does everybody know about the Christmas event? I don't know. Again, just tossing it out there. I don't think I think why we do have some extra time because of COVID and we're not like, okay, we got to book this, we got to book that, we got to book this. We really can't book anything. So let's get her acclimated before hopefully spring hits and we're good to go and we can she probably has some great ideas of things she wants to implement, you know, so just a thought.
I think it's a great idea, Michelle. And, you know, to the rest of you, I mean, Michelle has been an extreme, huge help to me over the past few months. Handling the emails, making sure everything gets out to you guys. You know, and we don't know for sure that our next meeting with Kathleen, it might be kind of weird breaking in a new person through a Zoom call. So the sooner we can compile these questions or items to get to her, the better, because then Michelle and I can go through them and better formulate it so that it's handed to her in the right way, because we have no guarantees that our next meeting is either a real meeting or a Zoom call. We don't know this. You know, things are going backwards a little bit at this moment.
Right. And I don't.
Yeah, fabulous idea like always, Michelle.
Oh, thanks. Another thing, and I don't know if we can do this or not, but because we do kind of have to, no, we probably don't have to record our meetings, but just tossing this out there, and Lisa, I don't know if this is even doable, but there's only 5 of us plus her, 6 of us, right? So what's to say, like, we can't get together in my backyard and socially distance and meet? I don't know if in person, I mean, I'm willing to do.
Frank explained this to me. In order to have a meeting, right, it needs to be
Open.
It has to be an
Right.
open meeting.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
So basically, sure, Michelle, we can have this in your backyard, but the entire town of Whitman could show up too. Now we're not socially distancing anymore.
You know, that town hall, the main hall itself is huge. It seems like we could fit 6 or 8 people in there and still maintain the social distancing.
Yeah, well, the way that Frank has described that as well is that, again, it's not open to the public. So, you know, if you're meeting in person, you'd have to try, you know, the public would be expected again to go in and meet that way.
Okay.
But right now,
Yeah.
Zoom is the safest way for everybody to meet, and then the public can chime in and watch the recording.
Okay.
Well, public never comes anyway. I think in the last 20 or 30 years, I think I've seen about 10 people come from the public.
Okay. I didn't really think that out before I said it, so no
That's
big deal.
okay. It was still a good idea.
It was a nice invitation.
You can come over anyway, Jim.
Thank
Okay, so do we want to, at this point, set up another meeting date anyway, so I can get it in the works? So it's the 10th. Do we want to meet like in 3 weeks on the 31st, on another Monday night?
Can we go like a week after that and I should be safe?
Okay, that's Labor Day, Monday, so if we want to do we want to, I don't know if people go away for Labor Day, so we don't want to, let me look. Anybody have any other? I don't know, we're just
How
keeping it to
about-
Mondays, but I don't care.
I mean,
can
we could
switch-
go to Wednesday. We used to do Wednesday night meetings.
Yeah, do you want to
Right.
go to the second meeting then, which is like 3 weeks and 2 days away? The first Tuesday of the first Wednesday of the month.
Sounds okay to
I
me.
think that would be all right,
So September 2nd,
which is a Wednesday.
7 PM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for agenda items, we'll just put fall sports again, recreation director duties.
Yep.
Yep.
And Michelle, I know there's no car show, but maybe, just maybe, we never know. We should have a small discussion on anything further down the line, like maybe Christmas. Small discussion. We can't plan for something that we don't know about, but
Okay,
Future
so I'll just
events.
put fall and, I'll put fall and Xmas events. How's that?
yeah, that's fine.
Fall and winter events. Okay. All right.
All right, so anybody else have anything?
No, I'm just happy I finally did this.
June, let me tell you something. I am so proud of you. I really am. I can even hear you this time.
I need a standing ovation. Thank you all.
I
for
am
your
standing.
Thank you for your patience. And thank you, Michelle.
Worries.
Kevin,
And
anything?
Joe, thank you for
No,
everything you're doing.
No
You're-
problem.
No.
You've done a great
I
job.
got nothing.
Thank you, June.
Okay?
Kevin, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Ron?
Kevin
I'm good.
motioning to adjourn.
And then myself. I just wanted to thank, I mean, this has been a long, grueling process for all of
Yes.
us.
I like
I want to thank everybody for bearing with it, going through the process again. Lisa, thank you for helping us along our way with the Zoom
Yes.
calls and everything. It's,
Mhm.
you know, it's been a little confusing what we can and can't do. You and Frank both have helped us significantly. Michelle, I can't say enough, you know, with the help you've given me. Thank you. And now that we have a director in place, I cannot wait to teach how to do this thing real quick. So,
Good luck, Joe.
thanks. Anyone want to make the motion? Actually, sorry, Lisa, do you have anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay,
Look forward to working with the new director.
thank you. Anyone want to
I'll
make
make-
a motion?
I'll make the motion to
Go ahead.
adjourn.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, here we go, around the table. Ron, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
June,
Yeah, second.
and I'm a yes. Thank you, everybody.
Good night,
Okay.
everybody. Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be
Thank you,
safe.
everybody.
Stay well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.